Okay, so it's 7:30 in the morning, but it's absolutely beautiful outside, really sunny. We're just about to drop my friend's son off at nursery, and then we're going to head straight over to Basel. Here at Baselworld, lots of new releases this year from all the different brands. So we've got Rolex, Heuer releasing, Omega have got quite a few. I'm just about to nip over to Rolex now and see the new Daytona, which is the watch that I'm most interested in. So come with me. So the big news from Rolex this year was the new Daytona in steel. So obviously there are steel models already, but this version now has a ceramic bezel. And the white dial seems to have received more attention from the designers, so we now have the sort of black sub-dial rings which were seen on models such as the Zenith previously. You know, so a bit different to what we had in the last range. They do seem to have changed the case a little bit, so it's a bit more similar to the sides of, say, like the Sea Dweller or the Rolex Submariner, that type of thing. But it still looks like a really nice, sort of classy, very usable chronograph watch. And I would expect that there's going to be massive demand for this watch. The other thing as well is it's only increased slightly in price over the previous model. Here in the UK it's gone from 8050 to 8250 pounds. So it's gone up basically £200, which a lot of people like myself were expecting more than that. And there's also a couple of new dial colours in the gold models as well, which you see here. The white gold now has a blue option with red detailing, and the rose gold also has a green option. And we also see there's a new Explorer on the right here, which is the Explorer model, not the Explorer 2, 39mm, which you've seen in a previous review of mine. They've actually now updated that model very slightly. It's the same case, same everything, but the things they have changed are it now has luminescence to the main hour markers, and also slightly different hands which just balance the dial a little bit more. And then there's the new Air King from Rolex, a remake of the previous model. This watch is a pilot's watch. It has a anti-magnetic setup inside, so you've got an iron cover underneath the case back, and it also features the new standards of the Rolex movement, which is +2, -2. And then it's on to Tudor, who've got the new Black Bay range, which is now the Black Bay bronze, which you see here, 43mm, larger watch than usual. Has a different dial, and the case is made of bronze, so not steel like the rest of the range. And then you also have the Black Bay Dark, which is still a steel model but has a PVD coated case. All the new Black Bays from now on have an in-house movement as well, which features a larger power reserve, and obviously the cachet of being supposedly in-house. However, one thing that hasn't changed in the standard steel models is the depth of the case, which is still as tall as ever, and some people do say it looks a bit slab-sided. And finally there was the release of the Black Bay 36, which is a 36mm case, not too deep I believe, and quite a nice smaller watch if that's what you're looking for. But although it's called a Black Bay, there's no bezel in this case, and there's a few changes from the main series of models other than size. So Tudor and Rolex seemed a little bit quiet compared to usual. Maybe it's just because it's the first main day here, and you it's quite early, but certainly the Daytona I expected to not even be able to get to the window, but I could do, which was quite surprising. So I'm going to head over to Omega. I've just had a look at Tudor and the Black Bay Dark. Quite an interesting watch, but not something I'd really go for myself. And it looks like all the new Black Bays, which do have the new in-house movement, they all look to be the same sort of thickness, so it doesn't seem to have changed the slab-sidedness of that watch, the Black Bay, so which would have been nice to just have it a little bit thinner. So I'm going to head over to Omega and I'll show you what's over there. So the main change to the Planet Ocean line this year were bezels and colours, so we saw a lot more greys involved in the colour schemes and oranges, but also there's now bezels which have rubber integrated, and on one of the models, which is the GMT model, it's white and black with the bezel, which I believe is apparently very hard to create out of liquid metal, because as one contracts, one expands, and the production process is very, very awkward and very difficult. And 2016 sees the introduction of a new model to the Speedmaster range, which is the Moon Phase model. So it has a Moon Phase subdial at 6, rather than just the standard bicompact versions of the 9300 movement we've seen before. The model tends to come in steel, but there's also ceramic versions, there's a platinum version. And they also introduced a new meteorite dial model, which is actually not a limited edition, it's a full production model, so there's no numbered edition or limited edition of this watch, but it features a meteorite dial as we've seen in the past with the Soyuz versions. So there was also an addition to the first Omega in Space editions, so we've got the steel version of that previously, which has a black dial and is just a numbered edition. Last year, I think it was, they released the rose gold variant with brown subdials, and now we also have a steel model which has blue subdials, blue bezel, and also features such as a lollipop hand. This model is called the CK2998 and it's limited to 2,998 production run. So it already seems quite popular on the forums, and I would expect this one to sell out relatively quickly. Omega also added an addition to the Globemaster range, which is the annual calendar model, and you can tell the difference by having the months around the dial. As well as a Seamaster for the Rio Olympics, which I hadn't seen before, there were also some new Ploprof models which featured an orange and grey model and also a grey on grey model, both made of titanium and very, very expensive. Heuer are also quite interesting this year, with a release of new models to the Heuer 01 range, including some various skeleton models, but also the new tourbillon, which is known to be a much cheaper price than your average tourbillon. It's going to be around about 10,000 UK pounds compared to the average tourbillon, which is probably about 4 or 5 times that. And we also saw the announcement of the new Heuer Monza, which is obviously Tag Heuer, but they've just called it the Heuer to hark back to the vintage era of those watches. The old model was 39mm, the new one has actually grown to 42mm. When I first saw it in the case, I was really impressed with it, but when I actually tried it, I wasn't as impressed. It feels a bit too light for me, although it is titanium, it's always going to be lightweight, but it did wear quite big on the wrist. It is quite a large watch and I was a bit disappointed with the overall size of it. Zenith didn't release too many models this year. We saw the new Zenith El Primero, which has a nice striped dial. There was also a new Pilot chronograph, which I wasn't such a fan of, it's quite large. Tourbillon El Primero, which was very nice, but I'm sure very expensive. And then the new dress watch that they've released as well in gold. Breitling really emphasised the connected route this year, where the watches that talk to your smartphone are really coming to the forefront of their product line. Seem to really be pushing those, but if I'm honest, I don't really understand why you would buy one. There was a new variant of the Emergency from Breitling as well this year, with a yellow band and some kind of carbon fibre effect dial. And then there was a new Avenger Hurricane, which at 50mm I can't see being a massive seller. Raymond Vale will have made Beatles fans happy, but I'm not so sure watch fans happy with their new edition of the Beatles watch. And Hamilton showed off their product range this year, including some divers models and also some 40mm military models, which I always admire because I love this brand. It's one of those that shouldn't be overlooked. They make great quality watches at much more competitive prices than a lot of other brands. Heuer impressed with the display of watchmakers at the stand this year. They were basically building up watches, and you could also see the dials and various parts of the movement on display. And although I missed the release of the new blue bathyscaphe model this year, Blancpain as always had some watchmakers showing live engravings of very tiny watch parts, and it's always impressive to see. Seiko were also showing off some new models this year, including the Astron series, some additions to that, and also a selection of Paddy divers. So obviously Paddy being the diving company, basically an amalgamation with them on a couple of models, including what was a turtle model and then one of the Sun type models of the Prospex range. And there were some new spring drive variants from Grand Seiko, including some artistic representations, which I'm not sure if a full release, but they were certainly interesting to look at. And if you like value for money in your premium watches, I would definitely take note of the Presage models, which were released this year at Seiko, because you get things like enamel dials and various other fine components for a lot less money than other brands. And interestingly, the most impressive booth to me at the whole show this year was actually Casio, who created a sort of cinematic experience, making you feel like you're in a rainstorm. I felt Eberhard really missed a trick this year because they released an what is an old watch then, the scaphograph, but they've totally changed the looks compared to the old watch you see here versus the new model which you see here, and just to me looks like any other standard diver's watch. Romain Jerome showed off their Super Mario Brothers watch, which I thought was really cool. And here's a few more watches on display at the main hall at Baselworld 2016. Turner added to their Contiki range this year with the new chronograph from them, which I really liked, and there were also some other models on display which were more traditional looking watches, as well as the Contiki divers. And Bremont showed off new models from their ranges such as the America's Cup and Boeing. So that's it for Baselworld 2016. Hopefully next year I'll get there again and see more things. I'm going to try and stay there longer because one day is never enough at Baselworld, so I'm going to try and do at least 2 days so I can then see more of the smaller companies. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Please make sure you leave a comment and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you again soon.